question from Pamela on Twitter. And Pamela would like to know what species of wildebeest we have on the Sabi Sands. The answer, Pamela, is the blue wildebeest, which is the most common one that we have in South Africa. We also get the black wildebeest, but that is concentrated more towards the central area of the country, the open grasslands, more around a part of the country that is known as the Free State. Pamela's also asked us whether we have any mosquitoes at this time of year. The answer is no. I haven't seen a mosquito in a couple of months. It has been a very, very dry season for us, both on the reserve I'm currently living at and on this reserve. And as you know, mosquitoes will breed in water. Their larvae will be in particularly pools of stagnant water, and they like the nice, warm, moist weather. All right, this time of year, it's a little bit cold. We're not seeing any mosquitoes. Okay, guys, apologies for the quick screen cleaning. Andrew's just going to sort us out a little bit. Alright, it's the time of year when there's a big season change. Makes things a little bit more complicated. Lots of dust flying around, a bit of condensation. So Andrew's just going to sort that out for us so that we have a nice clear screen. Thank you. Nice little treat for us there in the road. We've got a tree squirrel just foraging around, looking for some grass seeds, something like that, before the sun goes down, and he runs back into his tree and hides away for the night. You won't see it so much at this time of year, but in particular when there's a type of tree in the bush in the low veld known as the marula tree, which produces the most amazing sweet tasting fruit. And you'll often find that when elephants, they love this fruit, and when they chew it, they don't always bother to chew all that well, and they swallow whole, and it passes straight through into the dung. And what you'll often find is tree squirrels coming along quickly to find the marula seeds left in the dung, and they scavenge that little bit. They pop open the kernels. Those teeth are specially adapted for this purpose, and they get all of the nutritious content inside that marula seed. Very clever little animals, very adaptable. Go. Nice and brave now that we're sitting still. Yeah, you can just see him over the top of my vehicle there. Interesting example of animal behavior that applies across the board, whether you're talking about elephants or lions or something like a tree squirrel. Always let them approach you, because they're much more likely to get nice and close if you let them make that decision for themselves. Okay, it's just polite, and it just makes them feel safer, and you're going to have a better sighting. If I was to drive and approach the squirrel as close as he is now, deliberately, there's no way he would stick around. He'd be running away. So always important, nice little demonstration, and it applies, as I said, across the board, whether we're talking about ellies or anything like that. Here he goes, on his way. Making his way towards this old leadwood. Oh, up we go. Wonderful to watch their agility. might decide where he's going to go. Okay. He's going to start making his way to bed. It'll get dark and cool. Winter's always a wonderful time of year to be in the bush. I mean, it's pretty cold, especially in the early mornings and then the late evenings, but you do get to see a lot of very interesting things that you might not necessarily pick up on in summer. So your nocturnal animals are starting to come out much earlier because it's cooler. So things like aardvark, brown hyena, all of those kind of things, shy and secretive, but they come out a little bit earlier in winter. Got some buffaloes, just all chilling out here, making the most of the last of the afternoon. There we go. We have a question from Gerda. Good afternoon, welcome to the Sunset Drive. Gerda would like to know how far spotted hyenas will move when they're moving from one den site to the next. Gerda, that's in my experience, they actually do not go too far, but that doesn't mean that they can't. Again, you can't ever apply a blanket rule to anything in nature, but typically what I've experienced, I've kept an eye on quite a few active hyena den sites. When they do move, the ones that I've been observing have never moved more than maybe 2 kilometers from the den site. They've also got a lot of pre-chosen sites that they will repeatedly use throughout their breeding season. So they'll go from one den site to the next, and they have it prepped and ready. They know exactly where they're going to go. Let me go. Grey heron flying off. Beautiful shot into the sun. And away he goes. Very, very nice. It's nothing like the light on a late afternoon in winter. It's always spectacular. Anyway, sorry, back to Gerda's question about the spotted hyena dens. They will move, and they will move regularly, especially just when the fleas start to build up, and they will drag carcasses back to the den, so the smell collects and the parasites do tend to accumulate. So they will move their cubs fairly regularly. And what I have noticed is for the past 2 years, where I've been living, watching one clan of hyenas, the matriarch of the clan, she's had 2 litters in the time that I've been there. She's actually followed a very similar path, used exactly the same den sites, almost in exactly the same order. Very interesting. I'm sure that's not a blanket rule. It's just the way that it's worked out. went through a bit of a dip. We are very sorry for that. Just went through a bit of a dip and we lost signal temporarily, but it seems to be back up and running, so I hope you guys weren't too stressed. Once again, we apologize for the loss of the signal. Alright, too much, and it gets too dark. Just while we're making our way back towards the lions, I have a very interesting question from Alex. And Alex would like to know, whoops, went a bit too fast down there. Alex would like to know what the difference is between the hunting strategies and the groupings of spotted hyenas versus wild dogs. Very good question. Alex, the spotted hyena social system is actually quite fascinating. It's one of the only truly matriarchal animal groupings in the animal kingdom, because the females are that much bigger and that much larger than the male. So what you find, they have a very strict hierarchy with the highest ranking matriarch up at the top, and then all of her daughters, and the lowest ranking daughter, the lowest ranking female, is still higher ranking than the highest ranking male. And when we're talking about comparing wild dogs and spotted hyenas in terms of hunting strategies, both are incredibly effective hunters, arguably much more effective than something like a lion. What they will do is they utilize quite similar techniques. They can very often do hunt for hyenas in big groups. Wild dogs will always hunt in groups, and they will chase down the prey. And when the one chaser gets tired, the next one will come in until eventually the prey animal is just too exhausted to run anymore, and then they will then kill the animal. So quite a similar approach for both animals. Again, spotted hyenas can hunt alone as well, so no blanket rule. Then in terms of the social structure of the wild dogs, what you will find is that there is an alpha pair in a pack, but you'll get a pack of all sexes, but the alpha pair will be the ones that breed, and the rest of the pack will be there to help them and look after those pups. So slightly different approaches, actually very different animals, but very interesting to compare. It's always fascinating to compare the different predators and the way that they approach hunting and social living. Susan from Long Island, New York. He wants to know if hyenas will actually feed on other dead hyenas. The answer is yes, they can, and they will. They will have a look. It's not that common in the natural environment to find cannibalism in species, but it does happen with hyenas. And I found an active den site of a hyena and a fresh hyena skull. I've also seen pictures on camera traps, so motion sensors that trip and take a picture. We've set up camera traps throughout our reserve, and we've actually got a fantastic picture, a bit grisly, but a picture of a spotted hyena carrying another spotted hyena's head in its mouth. So it does happen. So yes, in answer to your question, they will eat dead hyenas. in Dayton Children's Hospital in Ohio. And Gracie would like to know if we get any bears in Southern Africa. The answer, Gracie, is no, we don't. But I wish that we did, because I would love nothing more than to see a bear in the wild. Maybe one day I'll have an opportunity to travel to America and have a look at something like a bear. But in South Africa, the place in the ecosystem, in nature, that the bear fills, we've got other animals that fill the same place in South Africa. So no to the bears, but still would love to see one day. Driving a little bit faster, just to see that we get to those, see if we can relocate those lions before it gets too dark. Looking for these lions. PK would like to know why I refer to hyena babies as cubs and to wild dog babies as pups. Alright, the reason for that, there is a reason for this, and that is because although hyenas are a completely separate and distinct family, so they're not dogs and they're not cats, if you go back far enough in their evolutionary line, you will actually find that they are slightly more closely related to cats than they are to dogs, strangely enough. Even though a lot of people sometimes think maybe they look a little bit more dog-like, they're actually closer related to cats. So when I refer to the baby hyenas, I'm referring to the cubs. And with wild dogs, they are typical canines, part of the canine family, so their babies are pups. Thank you for that question. Welcome and good afternoon. Welcome to the Sunset Drive. So Ginny wants to know if I've seen any albino animals in the wild and if I have ever seen a black panther. The answer to the albino question is I've actually not seen any in the wild. Albinism, especially in South Africa, is quite rare. The white lions that you guys might have seen on TV or something like that, that's actually not true albinism in its truest form. It's a slightly paler coloration, right? A true albino animal will have red eyes, whereas the white lions, they actually have blue eyes. So I haven't seen any albinism in the wild. The reason for that is there's quite a lot of competition, and a pale white animal stands out really, really clearly in the bush. So you don't often see them surviving that well. I'm sure it will happen to me one day that I see an albino something. I have seen a deliberately bred albino antelope, but that was human interference, so artificial selection. In terms of black panthers, well, if we're talking about melanistic leopards, that does happen, where you find them, they're much darker than normal, almost completely black. I've never seen one. I have caught one once on a camera trap, so I've never seen him again before or since. I think he just passed by my camera trap motion detector and tripped the signal. I've also heard reports of one in a town that is fairly close to here, probably about 2 hours drive, and that melanistic leopard is seen fairly regularly. But very, very unusual to see and super exciting if you did see one. Another question from Angela in Boston. Hi Angela, and thank you very much. Angela would like to know how many types of wildcats I've seen in the wild. Angela, I'm not entirely sure if you're referring to different species of predatory cats. If in answer to your question, if that is your question, I would say I've seen lions, leopards, cheetah, serval, caracal, wildcats. I think that might be it. I've never been fortunate enough to see the very endangered small spotted cat. Maybe one day. In terms of the African wildcat, I've had a couple of very, very nice sightings. This is a threat. This is a species that is very much under threat, just because, especially because of hybridization with domestic cats. Okay, it is the ancestor of the domestic cat, so it can still breed with domestic cats. And what we've seen is that with a lot of feral cats, with the increase of human population, they've actually started breeding and hybridizing with domestic cats. And we're not seeing the true African wildcat as often as we should be. vehicle into low range. This gives me a little bit more control as we go off-road here. And makes a little bit less noise. Don't startle the lions too much. Sticky. There we go. An eye out for ears flicking in the grass, tails flicking. You never know where they might have moved. Starting to get a bit cooler, they might be on their way. Close to where they were.
Check the handbrake.
I'm just going to try and get around, see if I can figure out where these lines have gone. One of the exciting things of coming through the bush. You never know what you're going to find or who you're going to find where you thought you were going to find something else. Pamela. Pamela would like to know how many languages I speak and if you need a license to drive a safari vehicle. Pamela, I speak 2 languages fluently, English and Afrikaans, which you'll find is typical of most South Africans. I do know a little bit of Zulu, a little bit of Sotho, and maybe a couple of words of Shangaan, but that's stuff that's picked up mainly through guiding. And then in terms of license to drive a safari vehicle, on private land, if you were on your own, theoretically you wouldn't, but professionally, yes, you do. And find a way around this buffalo. A couple of fallen knob thorns. Okay, what I think I might do, guys, just because it's proving a little bit more difficult to get around the buffalo, is to move out of the block and then move around to the other road and see if maybe I can pick something up from there. Maybe we get lucky and the lions have popped out there. I'm not sure if you guys can hear them. Probably not over the crashing and the sound of the vehicle. You can actually hear a lot of ox pickers flying in the sky. Very useful warning calls for when you're in the bush. Okay, they typically sit on the big animals or impala, but you'll often find big groups of them sitting on something like a buffalo herd, for example. So when you hear them, there's a good chance that you should be keeping a nice eye open for something along the lines of buffalo or even a giraffe. And these birds are actually incredible. They'll sit on the animal and they can eat in the region of 1,000 ticks a day, which is seriously impressive for a little bird that size. But what they find is because they're ingesting so much blood and salt in their diet through the ticks, they need a lot of water. So they will often fly from an animal to the water. Make our way out of this block and see if we can get around.
Can you just stop for 1 second? Something fell off.
Okay.
Tree whacked Brent off.
Just gonna do a quick stop. We nearly lost Brent to a tree. It's okay. He's back. that with the cubs being as young as they are, would there be restrictions as to vehicles? In terms of numbers of vehicles coming to look at them, if that would be a further restriction. Lenny, I'm not totally familiar with the reserve rules, but I do know that this reserve is famed for some really ethical guiding, and I'm sure that the guides here will make sure, especially in a thick block like this, whoever's in charge of the sighting of the lions will make a judgment call and say, actually guys, only space for 2 vehicles, you stand by and then I'll give you a turn to come in. Alright, at the moment, as far as I know, there's nobody else here but us, but these lions will definitely have moved off with those buffalo coming through. In Boston. And Angela wants to know why the lions would have moved off away from the buffalo, and surely they would have tried to hunt them. Angela wants to know if lions are opportunistic hunters in the same way that leopards are. Just get this car out of no range. Angela, lions are opportunistic. They will be. There is a very good chance, though, that they wouldn't have gone straight into hunting mode with the cubs so small and so close to where the buffalo are now. And they probably would have deemed it safer to just move off, especially if the buffalo approached and got wind of the lions, because if I smelled the buffalo from the direction I was approaching, there's a very good chance that the buffalo actually smelled the lions first before they approached. So they were already aware and alert to their presence, and that actually makes them quite a serious threat to the cubs. Alright, buffalo have been known, there are recorded cases of buffalo killing lion cubs, so there was always the potential for that. And for that reason, I think, especially with it being quite a small pride, only 2 females with 3 very, very small cubs, probably a risk they were not willing to take. The situation would have been very different if they hadn't had 3 tiny cubs with them. They've got the 2 big males, so there's a good chance they would have gone for the hunting opportunity. Going to keep a nice eye out for these guys. Also checking the road for tracks. Maybe we can pick up if they cross somewhere. Pamela would like to know if anybody's found dinosaur fossils in Sabi Sands. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I don't think so. There aren't any dig sites here as far as I know. There are certain dinosaurs that have been found in South Africa, but I'm pretty sure not so much from the Sabi Sands area. Guys, I'm just gonna stop for a second, just get my jacket on. It's a little bit chilly. And I definitely don't handle the cold all that well. So let me just get my jumper on and then we can carry on. Okay, thank you for that. Much better. Fantastic question from Gert from the Netherlands. Good afternoon, or good evening now, Gert, and welcome to the Sunset Drive, and thank you for your question. Let me just go through this dip just in case, and then I'll get to Gert's question, just in case we lose signal. Respond differently to people and to vehicles. Aha. Okay. So we picked up. There we go. All right, guys. Sorry, Gert, your question will have to wait because we've just found the lions again. Let's just get the ground, peek around this corner. One of the Djuma males walking nice and sedate. Just going to shift my car into low range so that I can idle behind him, nice and quietly, follow him without disturbing him. boys ahead of us in the road. And from what I could see from the tracks that we were picking up, the whole pride has gone a little bit ahead of these guys. Very common when you see lions walking that you get the pride going ahead and the males traveling leisurely behind at their own pace. Very important to remember that animals like to use roads just like we do. It's a nice, quiet way of getting from point A to point B, and there's less bushes to go around, less grass to worry about. Nice, easy path. Marking going on there, some territorial scraping, and you can actually, I'm not sure if you guys can pick it up, but he's spraying urine backwards. So what he's doing is he's marking his territory, he's letting everybody know that this is his area, and by kicking like that and scuffing like that, he actually gets the scent of the urine into the pads of his feet, and then he walks with it and takes the scent along with him. Down the road. Very nice to see this sort of behavior. And if we're really, really lucky, maybe we might hear them call. We have to be very lucky. Let's make its way off the road here to my right. He's going to slip, grabbing his head along there. And there we go. Perfect demonstration. Urine spray, territorial marking. And in the distance, there's the other male. On the other side of this turn. Ah, boy. There we go. And if we're lucky, what we might see as these two boys approach each other.
Just watch your head. Just watching your head first. There we go.
Just move my head out of the way so you guys can see him. Spectacular male lions in the evening light. Really beautiful. Okay, head rub. Very typical when you see one lion lying down and another one approaching. They'll come and give that head rub. It's a social greeting. Just reaffirming that bond that they have. I think he's got a little bit of a limp. Favoring one leg just ever so slightly. Have a quick drink.
you go a bit forward, it's slow.
Spectacular in the evening light. Big drink after a hot day. And all that lying. It's thirsty work, spending the afternoon lying down. Okay, you guys can actually see quite clearly that this male is walking with a limp. Now, I have heard that the one male lion has had a limp for at least a couple of months. I'm going to assume that this is still him. I'm not sure, but it seems to be. He's definitely still favoring one leg, but he hasn't lost any condition, still looking healthy. So hopefully whatever it is going to slowly heal up and he can get back to normal. But he seems to be healthy otherwise, just a bit of a limp. Really spectacular colors this evening. Sometimes in an evening like this, it's nice to just sit and really appreciate what you're looking at and just sit and listen to the sounds of the bush, all of the surface sound, and then underneath that nice deep silence that I love so much about these places. Nice patch to lie down in. Might have found a scent that he likes. You often find with lions they'll go up, if they find a nice strong smell, they rub their heads in it, they often lie and roll in it. So he might be doing something like that.
I wonder if you can shine some light.
Okay, I'm just gonna get hold of our spotlight, see if we can light these guys up nicely.
Just put that on there.
There we go. In terms of spotlight etiquette, it's always a little bit rude to shine the light directly into a lion's eye. So what I'm trying to do at the moment is maybe just bounce the light a little bit off the ground so that it lights him up nicely for us without shining right in his eyes. But he's turned away from us now. So Lenny in Arizona would like to know if when the lions moved away from the buffalo, if the aunt would have helped to carry the cubs away, and if it would only ever be the mother who picks up the cubs. She might have done. I have seen lionesses who are not the mothers of the cubs. I have seen them pick up and carry cubs, but chances are that they probably didn't carry the cubs away. They probably just moved fairly rapidly. The cubs are tiny, but they could move away pretty quickly. They probably smelt or heard the buffalo coming. Lots of crunching, picked up on the sound of their steps coming through the grass, and decided to move away as quickly as possible. And the way that the buffalo went in, the males probably would have been there first. So the buffalo would have seen the male lions before the females and the cubs. Just picked up on an eye shine over there. Sorry, guys. I think it's a bush baby. So Joe from Wales has taught me something new this evening. He tells me that domestic kittens will always suckle from the same teat whenever they go and feed from their mothers. It was something I didn't know. But Joe was wondering if that's the same process with lion cubs. I don't think so. I wouldn't have thought so, just because there's such competition with your siblings that there's such stiff competitions with your siblings that maybe you can't really afford to be that fussy as to which teat you suckle from. You've kind of just got to take what's left for you. So I don't think so, but I don't know, Jonah. Honestly, I didn't even know that about domestic cats. So thank you for teaching me something. Just going to swing around and see if I can still see the other male.
I saw him walk just to the other side of the dam.
Okay. All right. I don't think this guy is going to move anytime soon, so I'm going to move up a little bit, see if I can find his brother, and then maybe we can drive on for a little bit, see what else we can spot. Very nice to just see that they're still around. I'm not sure where the rest of the pride's gone. They might have carried on moving, or they might have settled down with the cubs in a safer place. So we're going to carry on looking around. It's nice to see the males now, because without the cubs, we can actually spotlight on these males then. They're old enough and they've been around. They're comfortable with it. Of the other male at the moment. Might have moved into the bushes. Just going to shift the car out of low range and we can carry on looking for other nocturnal beasties.
There from the sidelines. The switches on the dash, yeah.
Ah, there we go. And we've got a female. Okay guys, we're going to go a little bit closer. Just wanted to see if you guys could pick up on the sound of that aggression. Right, the other male is fighting with the other females. And they're just having a little bit of a tiff. Okay. There we go. Okay. Sorry about the dust. Sorry, lady. Hear the soft contact calls of the one female, and I can, just to the right of the line, see the young cubs coming through. Okay, so I'm going to take the spotlight a little bit away from them. Here we go. The rest of the family coming through. Nice social greeting. Oh, that female's feeling a little bit crabby tonight. She was also the one who initiated a little bit of aggression with the male. Okay. Guys, if you've just joined us or if you've forgotten or you're wondering why I'm not shining the spotlight on the cubs, all right, that's just an ethical consideration. They're very, very small. They're only 3 months old, and I just don't want to harass them in that manner at the moment, not when they're so young. Okay, so they're moving off nicely to the left of us, and we've still got the male nice and relaxed here. If we listen nice and hard, we can actually hear the contact, soft contact calls of the mom. That was really wonderful. Guys, I think we're going to leave this lion family be. Let them go about their business in the evening, especially with such young cubs. We're just going to move on. I know that there was a lot of concern about the male with the limp, whether it's going to affect his hunting potential and whether it's going to place him at extra risk from other competitors or predators. The answer is yes, to an extent. As I said, he hasn't lost any condition at the moment. He's looking fairly good. Hopefully the pride and the other male will be a little bit more successful in hunting, feed him up. It doesn't seem to be slowing him down too much. So there's a very good chance that he'll actually heal and recover. These animals tend to be a lot tougher than we give them credit for, and certainly a lot tougher than we are as human beings, right? It's a certain hardiness to the animals in this area. It has to be that way. All right, let's be on our way. Something back there. Nope. False alarm. So Julia from Houston tells us that this injury on this male has actually been there for 2 years. And it was a suspected snake bite. Thank you very much for that information, Julia. That's very helpful. So guys, as you can see, although it hasn't healed up very well, he is still in prime condition, still looking good. So he's obviously been well looked after and is still able to hunt. I have seen a lion before with a broken leg, and she was able to move as efficiently on those 3 legs as she was on 4. It was absolutely incredible to see how fast she could move. from Steve in the UK. And Steve would like to know how often lions make a kill. Welcome to the Sunset Drive, Steve, and thank you for your question. It very much depends on the size of the lion pride, how many lions there are devouring the kill, and what kind of prey animal they've killed. If you could sort of say roughly for a pride of about 6, maybe every 2 to 3 days, but then that's not an impala, because an impala kill would not sustain them, provide them with enough meat for all of them to be sufficiently fed. So the bigger the pride, the larger the prey animals that they go for, and particularly if that pride has a couple of males with them, then they start to look for bigger prey like buffalo and giraffe, which will feed the pride a bit more efficiently. In that way, lions are actually keystone species. They can have an enormous effect on the ecosystem. If you consider the amount of food that one large pride would need to eat to provide in a year, if you have too many lions, you're going to see a huge drop in prey populations, as well as increased competition with things such as leopards, spotted hyena. Alright, you'll find that the predator populations of other species of predator will also struggle. If you've got an overpopulation of lions and they don't have anywhere to move around. So very good question. Thank you very much for that, Steve. Again, there's no set rules in the bush. I've seen very full lions attempt to hunt after killing and eating a wildebeest just because they saw an opportunity. So, typical rule, maybe every 2 to 3 days. Okay, so I'll hit my lights. There's a scrub here in the road. With scrub hares wandering around, they tend to freeze, like the expression a rabbit in the headlights. You shine a light on them, they get confused and they don't know where to go. And unfortunately, a lot of them on main roads, if they get out of reserves, will actually be knocked over that way. So important to bear that in mind, give them some space and a little bit of respect. From Pennsylvania. Thank you very much for your words of encouragement. I really appreciate it. Really been helpful, and you guys have been incredibly supportive, and I really appreciate it. Brenda would like to know what my most exciting moment in the bush is to date. Well, Brenda, that's a difficult one for me to choose. I've had so many exciting ones. I think the birth of a very special baby animal in my life after quite a sad time really made a huge difference, especially because we were the first people on the reserve to see it. That was an incredibly special moment for me and gave me just a renewed boost in remembering why I love to do this job and what it is that we are protecting and conserving. So I think if I had to pick one, I would do that. But again, any moment with elephants, I've had so many and they're never boring. My first sighting of wild dogs when I was a kid, and maybe those early mornings with my granddad when I was tiny. And he used to take me out first thing in the morning to go and visit Kruger. And when it was still dark, and I still remember that childlike excitement of never knowing what you were going to see, and it was always so very appealing and exciting. So thank you for your question. to what's going to the close of our sunset safari this evening. Happy Cub would like to know if I have a favorite nocturnal critter. Sure, it's a very difficult question for me to answer. I have a confession in that I've never seen an aardvark in the wild before. I don't know what it is about me. It's some people laugh and joke about it. They think it's some kind of curse. So maybe an aardvark would be pretty exciting. But I must say I have a really soft spot for pangolins. One of the most overly poached animals in the world, and very shy, very rare to see, and just so special because they're so secretive and so little is known about them. Drawing to a close on what's been a fantastic experience for me and a fantastic afternoon drive, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to all of the people who've been watching and for all of the support I've received. I really, really appreciate it. You guys have been fantastic. And again, a huge thank you to the Wild Earth team for the opportunity that they've given me. Had a fantastic afternoon. Started off the day with some lion cubs, really special. First time they've been seen today by the Wild Earth crew. So I'm so glad I got to share in that experience and enjoy it. And this morning was equally incredible, with a fantastic leopard sighting in the morning and then the lion cubs a bit later. This is such a gift that we've been given. We live these incredible lives as guides where we get to come out and experience new places, get to meet the most incredible people. And I really have enjoyed this experience so much. The bush is never boring, but this has been a particularly spectacular appearance. It is my first time in Sabi Sands, and I've been dying to come here since I was a little girl. So at least, regardless of any outcomes, the dream has been fulfilled. I've had a fantastic time. I've seen some fantastic things, and I've really had the most amazing experience. So thank you to the awesome team at Wild Earth, and thank you especially to you guys. Your support has meant a great deal, and we will see you guys tomorrow morning for the sunrise drive. So have a good evening, or if it's not evening for you guys, have a fantastic day ahead and enjoy. Thank you very much, guys.